We are Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM.
Start Me Up with Roisn Ni Chleirigh.
Good afternoon. You are tuned in and listening to the Start Me Up business programme with me, Roisn Ni Chleirigh, here on Community Radio, Kilkenny City 88.7 FM. Do we as entrepreneurs, do we understand the numbers, that numbers are the story of our business? Joining me on the Start Me Up business programme here on Community Radio on the line to discuss this very issue and very topic and issues for many startup entrepreneurs is Carmel Seery. We'll be discussing how to make numbers easy. Carmel comes from an accounting background and has 20 years as a management accountant in many different industries and has seen firsthand how easy it is for entrepreneurs to get caught up with their passions and ideas. And I'm sure many of our startup entrepreneurs can relate to that. Through coaching and mentoring and consulting, Carmel Seery helps entrepreneurs make sense of our figures and and encourage us to make the time to work count and maximise our profit and so we can thrive. Carmel helps entrepreneurs get control of our businesses by building simple processes so we can always know our cash position. As a management accountant, Carmel creates a safe and expert space to explore our relationship with money so we can become stronger and more confident and ultimately fluent in our finances. Carmel Seery says, as business owners, taking the holistic approach to our numbers makes so much sense. The numbers become more relatable and usable. And on the phone line to tell us all about that, because I'm really excited about this, is Carmel Seery herself. Carmel, you're very welcome to the Start Me Up business programme.
Roisn, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here talking on about the numbers in people's businesses.
Well, you certainly, I really like what you've said, you know, and it really resonates with me that the numbers tell the story of our business.
Yes. And so often small business owners, entrepreneurs, they do all the hard work. They get all their numbers together, their sales, their expenses, and look at their banks and send that all off to their accountant. Their accountant sends them back reports, and those reports go into the drawer, never to be looked at again. And it's just such a missed opportunity because they're the analytics, if you like, of your business. They are telling you what happened last year, last month, or however period that they relate to. And there's so much information that you can use in your business that you can make decisions off and make life easier for you in the long run. But we tend to just see it as a way to get our tax return done. And once that job is done, we kind of go, oh, thank God that's done, and never to think about it again for another 12 months.
Yep, that's me.
It's a lot of people. It's an absolute lot of people. And that's my passion and my reason for starting my business and how it's developed over the last few years is to break down some of those barriers that entrepreneurs and small business owners would have when it comes to the numbers. So what's holding people back and why? And I've looked at different reasons and I've worked with my clients on this. And it's trying to give a simple process that people can start their journey with a simple process. And then they don't believe me, but it does happen. Once you start looking at the numbers on a regular basis and you start to hear the story and see the patterns, you start becoming interested. And then you build up a knowledge of what's going on in your business. And you become addicted. Trust me.
Well, I spoke to you last week about coming on the programme, and you really did get me thinking about everything. And I love the way that you said it's a process. And it's about starting that process. Can you tell us and talk us through about the process of of even explaining to ourselves the story of our business and really how do we get the hang of it. And many, as you said too, we don't have to be all computer phobic, but it does help us if we, in the long term, in getting into the habit of every week, taking in 1 hour of every week in working on our accounts and our numbers.
Yeah, so my thing is spend up to 1 hour. In the beginning, it won't take you an hour, but up to 1 hour a week. And I have a Finance Friday hour that if you work with me, everyone's invited to this co-working space. And the idea behind it is you carve out an hour that works for you in your business. You sit down, you know what you have to do. You run off your bank account, you collect your receipts, all that. And you have a process. It could take you 10 minutes, it could take you 30 minutes. I say an hour because if you're spending an hour doing bookkeeping in your business a week, you're probably getting to the stage where you need to start looking at outsourcing it. Yeah. So I say up to an hour. And it's really just about keeping those records and creating, you can do it with a pen and paper, you can do it with a super duper computerized accounting package if you like, and everything in between. It's about the routine. It's about collecting the information in a way that you can read it. And that could be on the back of an envelope if that's what you want. Or it could be on an Excel spreadsheet. Or as I say, it could be on a computerized package. And it's about making sure that the information goes in properly and therefore. And that's kind of the hardest and most boring part of it but once you get into the routine and once it becomes step A, B, C, D, you'll just sit down and do it. And then you get to look at it from the other side, how many sales did you do last week, last month, last year? How is that compared to what you wanted to do? We're over halfway through, we're actually in August. We're nearly three-quarter way through 2021. Are you where you want to be? And your numbers will tell you, because generally when we sit down at the end of the year or the end of the quarter and we plan for the next quarter or the next 12 months or whatever it is, we tend to try to put our goals into numbers. So we say we want to grow our business by 50% or whatever that is, and we tend to then draw that down into how many sales do I need to make, how many customers do I need to have, and so on. So, and around every month you should be looking back at those goals and looking at your numbers to see how far are you. Are you doing better than expected? If so, why? Are you doing worse than expected? If so, why? And it's not about beating yourself up. It's not about being judgmental. It's about knowing. Because, say for example, last year you probably weren't on track for reasons that had nothing to do with your business or your process. So we don't have binoculars into the future or crystal balls, but at the same time we need to know that information is of value to us now. If we're behind our budget, we need to know that now. No point finding out April or May of next year when we're doing our accounts.
Yes, and it's about setting up that process, isn't it? And
yes.
It's a structure and it's a strategy, and it becomes a behaviour habit, as you just said. And what I liked about what you said is that you said on the telephone call, the point is to understand our finances and know the finance process.
Yes. So understand how the money comes into your business. So when we start out, we put a lot of stress on our head. We keep a lot of things in our heads because they're interesting to us. Our first sale, maybe our first 2 or 3 invoices sent out. We know exactly to our mind if this has been paid or if it hasn't been paid. As the business grows and as you have other things to bring on, there's too much pressure on yourself to try and retain that information. So you need it in one place, you sit down for that hour. I do it on a Friday, but it could be, I know some people who do it on a Sunday morning. It's just that quiet time. And you sit down and you just look back over the last week and see how you are, record any sales that you've done, record any expenses that you've done, and start looking at those patterns to see. The more you look at them, the more you will start to see patterns. And they're unique to your business. They are the story of your business. So when you look at the accounts of two different companies, they could be in the same line of business, they could be serving the same customers, but the numbers will be different, and how the items that they expense will be different. And because they're so unique to the business. And that's what management accounting is about creating that process and reading it for your business. Now, you might be at a stage where you're no longer doing your bookkeeping. You have outsourced that to someone else. So that hour would be looking at that information that comes back from them. You should be getting a profit and loss account, maybe a balance sheet. Are you looking at those? Are you looking at your cash flow? There's a lot to it, but it all starts on that ABC, collecting your sales information and collecting your expense information, and using that then to go into different areas.
And I think that's really interesting, because what we've just talked about is I've realised is that the numbers tell the story of my business, and like many entrepreneurs, it's their business. And that once we get into the process and set up a process and implement that process, it should only take 20 minutes to half an hour to an hour as a startup business owner. And once we understand our finances and the story of our finances, then we can get into the keeping track of our finances. For example, we can keep track of our sales and our invoices and really have a structure on our sales and invoices, can't we then?
Yes, I mean, you can really start planning forward. We use the accounts to look back and see what we did well and what we didn't do well, and then we also use the accounts to plan going forward. How much money do you need for the next 3 months, 6 months? And you're able to work out how much your business costs you to run every month. How much sales do you make every month? Some of it may be by retainer or something similar, or by patterns. There are patterns there, and then you can project that into the future. And you might find out that in 4 or 5 months, maybe you're going to run out of money. So that's not great, but you're in a far stronger position to be finding that out today, rather than the hand-to-mouth process that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners take. A week beforehand, they look at their bank balance and there isn't that money for whatever is needed. And that creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress around the money. So if we can bring that viewpoint out 4 or 5 months and look at a longer lens, it gives us time to do something about it and plan for it. And that takes the anxiety out of running a business. I also look at the mindset as well, and what hang-ups and beliefs we have from our childhood, and what are we carrying along, and what do we believe about money that we're bringing into our business. For a lot of sole traders, their personal money and their business money tend to be mixed together. Mm-hmm. So I would create processes whereby you track the cash, regardless of whether it's personal or business, because sometimes we don't have that division yet in our business. And again, it's just about understanding those patterns, understanding what our beliefs are. One of the questions that is always has a good discussion point would be, I talk about what was your parents' attitude to money, or your parents or guardians, whoever brought you up in that household, what was their attitude to money? And did you talk about money? Because often, if we shy away from these conversations about money, we shy away from pricing issues in our business. for example. So if we're not happy talking about money and our customer starts bargaining with us on price, sometimes we will just cave, or you just don't know what to charge. And that's a mindset issue. That's not a money issue, if you know what I mean.
Then it becomes a self-esteem issue. How much are you worth? How much do you value your time? How much do you value your product or your service? And one thing I found very interesting talking to you was that it's also keeping track of our sales and our income. And if you said to me, Roisin, if someone came in to inspect your books or your accounts today, and you show them a list of sales, and then they picked out one of your sales incomes and asked you to pick out a particular invoice, can you track that invoice and can you find it?
Yes. So that
and
who
you
the
sold
process.
It to?
Yeah. So that's what the process is all about. As I said earlier on, it doesn't matter if it's on the back of an envelope, or if it's in this fancy computer. You just need to keep a record and be able to find your information. So be able to find that invoice, be able to find that expense, and have a system in place that you know where everything is, however it might be. And that's what the process is. That is what it is. That's what accounting is. That's what bookkeeping is all about. Now, I obviously have one way that I show everybody how to do this, but it is creating lists that are referenced so you can find a piece of paper. And that's all that bookkeeping is about. You then would move into, and a lot of people would send this to their accountant, send spreadsheets to their accountant. I don't think anyone is doing the shoebox anymore, but I have heard tales. And
I did my first year of business. It was a diary, though. It was a diary with all the. And he said, Rose, I phoned him up and I says, I've been terrified. I said to Pat Cahill, I phoned him up and I says, Pat, I've been meaning to phone you for months. I said, but I've been terrified to phone you. He says, Roisin, it's not me you should be frightened of phoning, it's the tax man.
This is it too, and that's actually another interesting thing. The amount of people who have said that they're afraid to ring their accountant. Your accountant is somebody who is part of your team. So they're somebody that you need to have a relationship with and be able to ring and be able to ask for advice. With my clients and the different ones, I have touch points throughout the month where I have, the Finance Friday, as I say, people can come and ask me questions there, or people just email me and ask for information, and I'm happy to share that with my clients because the better my clients do, the better I do in the long run anyway.
But it's about getting into that habit, isn't it, of understanding we'll go back to it's understanding that the money and the money. Let me get this right. Understand that the numbers tell the story of our business. To get into a habit of creating a process of keeping track of our sales and our invoices. Yes,
get that process in place. You can sit down with a cup of coffee. You should also be looking at your bank account every day, just to make sure that everything is as it should be. Now, most people do have access to their banks on their phone.
Yes.
So when you have a spare 5 minutes, just to look at into your bank account, you should have a separate bank account for your business. And just making sure yourself familiar with things. And just even that little act there of going in every day, you will start automatically think, oh yeah, this payment is coming out now. Is the money there? It is. That customer's paid me today. Oh, they paid the same day last month, and so on. That's the pattern. So you can start building on that and planning around that. And you might also look at how your customers are paying you. A lot of our businesses now are online, and a lot of my clients would actually get paid up front for services before they actually give the services. That's one of when you sign on for a quarter, I think you have to pay up front. But other clients are still in the, they get 30 days credit and they need to track that. And that needs to be in a process that they're easy. It should only take 30 seconds to look at a list of outstanding sales invoices and know which ones are still outstanding and which ones are due now. And it should be in some sort of a system that you can easily get that information once you look at it.
And Carmel, would you recommend that we entrepreneurs and small local traders, we keep a hard copy and a soft copy of our accounts?
Now, as far as I am aware, I haven't seen this in writing from Revenue, but Revenue will give you a soft copy. Because a lot of the invoices nowadays are only in soft copies. So if you receive a soft copy, you can always print them out if you have to. 90%, I think, of invoices are now soft copies. So no, you don't need to keep both. In fact, I would move away from the paper altogether.
Right.
If you can. Some places you still, if they come by post, you're probably going to keep those. But I would even take a photocopy of them and save them up into the cloud, like on a Google Drive. That's free, if you wanted to go paperless. Again, you could have a simple file for each year, and then once you go into that file, you have each month. So, for example, you might have January 21, and then you might, in that folder for January 21, you might have sales for that month, and then expenses in another folder. So there you always know if somebody comes back, and by somebody I mean if you got a revenue audit, or if somebody was you're going for grant and they were auditing your books, and they might say, can I see this invoice for June or for January 2021? You know exactly where it is. That's where it is in that folder. And that's what the accounting system is about, having a system that you can recall information from.
I like that. Now, you've made this sound a lot. I spoke to another lady here in Kilkenny one day. I met her for lunch, and she made it simple, and then you simplified it as well. So it's really starting to take the finances and the numbers of my business is now sinking into my head. I'm beginning to slowly change my perception, and now I'm going to start building a relationship with the numbers that tell my story of my business, not just my website and my digital imagery or my posts. Now the story of the numbers that tell the story of my business.
Yes, now I have some blogs on my website, carmelseery.com, and there's a few there that actually just show you step by step what you can do kind of today.
Right.
There's, a lot of it is about beating overwhelm and doing it bit by bit. So a lot of it is just take a week. Don't take... if you're sitting down today to do your accounts for 2020, which there are a lot of people who are doing that, don't look at the last 20 months and go, oh my God, I'll never get this done. Two things I'll say. One, start for this week. Implement your practice today. So implement it now. It is the 9th of August. So let's go back to the 1st of August 2021 and set up you can check out some of my blogs, and I show you exactly what columns to have and everything. And start on the 1st of August and just do this week and next week, the first 2 weeks. Now, and then when you have that done, you keep this going. Keep it going it'll probably only take you 10, 20 minutes. So for the other half an hour, 40 minutes, go back to last year and look at, starting at your backlog, January, and then moving forward. But keep today going as you're going, so that that practice is still happening, you're still creating it, and it's still easier. And then that backlog that was 20 months, over the next few weeks will start getting shorter and shorter. What tends to happen is people sit down with their 20-month backlog and they end up doing 5 months or 6 months in a row. And it's just, they've spent the whole day doing it and they've gotten into a rhythm, and then they go away and they do something else and they forget about it, and then they come back in about 4 or 5 months and there's this big backlog of nearly 20 months again, and it just seems so hard. It feels like, too hard, you're not getting anywhere. So if you implement your new system today and then you don't come back, and then you do 4 or 5 months over the next few weeks, you've got 15-month backlog. But you're getting today up and running, keep that going, and then as you chip away at your backlog is getting smaller.
Well, and Carmel Seery, can you just remind us of your website?
Yes, so it is carmelseery.com, CarmelSeery.com.
And you're also on Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn as well.
I am all as Carmel Seery Ireland. I think I'm on Instagram as well.
Oh, Instagram as well. I'm getting the hang of that one.
I'm going to be on TikTok. I am on TikTok, but I'm not doing anything with it as yet.
Right.
I am going to get that one under my belt over the next few weeks.
Well, Carmel, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've made me want to build a rapport and a friendship, at least a friendship,
yes,
before I get a relationship with my accounts and be able to even tell myself and see a different perspective of accounts, like my social media, like my website, like my posts. The numbers tell the story of my business, just like my social media and my website.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll be able to, it'll make life easier for you. We'll be able to make those decisions. Like, for example, and I know I'm running out of time, but for example, if you would spend money on an advertisement campaign, you want to tie in your numbers to see, well, did your sales go up that week or that month, or was it? Now, I know advertising is probably the worst one to pick because it's so, it's very hard to pin down where you are. But overall, did your sales go up? And, you should see it in your numbers if it's happening at all.
Well, Carmel, you're going to come on and keep in touch with us, and you're going to come on a regular basis and keep us all on top of our numbers and helping us build a holistic approach to our numbers to tell the story of our business in the next coming months. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you again.
Perfect. I am too. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million, Carmel Seery, and don't forget CarmelSeery.com, and you can find her there. Carmel, thank you so much indeed. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Start Me Up with Roisn Ni Chleirigh.